Hey, what's up, folks? It's Jesse with Keeping Real Finance, channel that always says your back and tells it like it is. Well, today's video is going to be a comparison between Jasmy and Cardano. So I've been talking about this for quite a while in a few of my different videos where I thought that Jasmy could go on a Cardano-like run. And I'm not sure if everybody fully understands what I mean by that or why I think that's possible. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So I put together a little spreadsheet to sort of compare and contrast the two. We got a little bit of news to go over, not much, just a little bit, because I'm saving that for the end of the week. And then we're going to be looking at the charts in comparison for what I think could happen with Jasmy into the future and basically predict where this thing's going to go. Okay, so it should be a very informative video if you're planning to be a long-term Jasmy holder, if you're a current investor in this one, if you're just sort of wondering what's going to happen with Jasmy. I think this really sheds a lot of light on what the future may have in store here. Okay, so if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you click the bell, you'll be made aware whenever I post time-sensitive content just like this. And now, let's get it going. All right, so I want to kick off today's video by first going into a straight comparison with Cardano and Jasmy. And the whole idea behind this is that I've been talking about this Cardano Jasmy comparison for quite a while now, but I'm not really sure if the community fully understands sort of what I'm talking about or why I think they're similar. And so that's what I wanted to show you in today's video. So we're going to kick this off here by first looking at some different categories in this spreadsheet that I put together. So first of all, obviously on the left we have Cardano and on the right we have Jasmy. Now our next question is, do they have their own blockchain? So Cardano is an obvious yes. Jasmy is sort of a yes. So they are partnered with a company called Centrality that is based out of New Zealand. And this is something that I just learned the other day. It's kind of funny because lately I've been going back in time into old articles that have been posted, 6, 8 months, a year ago, and finding some pretty important information that we maybe might have missed. And I think it was Yarla that posted this the other day about their partnership with Centrality. And I'm going to be talking about more of this in our weekly recap in a couple of days. So I'm not going to get too in depth in that right now, but they are partnered with them. And basically, they are working towards their own blockchain. Now, I wanted to show you this tweet here. So there was a tweet by Jasmy Society that mentions, Jasmy is a long-term hold. I believe at the 50 weeks IR, we will have major announcements, one being Jasmy moving to their own blockchain, right? And so Jasmy Society went ahead and highlighted this. This was from the Binance Academy article, creating a new blockchain. Now, from that, we've got another post here by Dip Metaverse. And if you're not following either one of these guys and you're on Twitter, definitely recommend giving them a follow. Dip Metaverse, he's been posting a lot of content lately. So good stuff. Keep that up, brother. And right here, we've got a post that he took. It looks like, I'm assuming this is from Discord. And so it says, further proof if you needed it. It's from an old AMA, where essentially Hara says, in the future, we plan for Jasmy to be linked and run with our own chain, right? So he does mention here a little bit higher up in the post, kind of where this line goes through, that they're aware of the gas fee problem with Ethereum, and so therefore they're creating their own chain. Now, what's interesting is the way he refers to it. So he says, we're often asked if we use ERC20, but although the crypto asset Jasmy is ERC20, the platform built on consortium chain, which is infinitely larger. So that's really interesting. So again, there's that consortium word that we've been talking about lately with Jasmy in particular, and the way that they do things in Japan. So by all accounts, it looks like they will have their own chain. So more to come on that front. All right. Now going back to our comparison here. So our max supply, so of Cardano, is 45 billion tokens, and Jasmy is 50 billion tokens, so very comparable. Circulating supply in Cardano is 75%. Jasmy is probably give or take 63%. Now, there was a headline just the other day that Jasmy had updated on the Jasmy Global website the circulating supply to the self-reported number that's on CoinMarketCap. It actually looks like it's probably a little bit higher than that with the additional centralized exchanges they've been adding. So my number here is roughly 63%, give or take. Okay. Now, in terms of 24-hour volume, this is telling. So for Cardano, we had 1.1 billion in volume over 24 hours. Today's June 7th, 2022. For Jasmy, 136 million. So Cardano has roughly 8 times the volume of Jasmy right now. Then we look at the hodlers. Cardano, 466,000 versus Jasmy, 29,000. So way more holders on the Cardano side. Okay. Area of focus. So some of the focus area here, it differs a little bit, and it kind of differs primarily in the beginning up here with DeFi. I think Cardano is a little more focused towards DeFi, whereas Jasmy is a little more geared towards the data democratization, IoT, Web3, etc. So in terms of DeFi with Cardano, I have seen Charles Hoskinson do TED Talks on YouTube. And on those TED Talks, he talks all about how there's the vast majority of the population around the planet doesn't have access to traditional banking. And that's kind of what he's hoping to solve with Cardano, giving them access to that, being able to retain records, buy property, borrow money, all these kind of basic functions of, um, your more developed countries that the underdeveloped countries don't have. So he's really an idealist at heart, and I think that's where Cardano leans a little more towards DeFi, whereas Jasmy, on the other hand, is all about data democratization, about compensating users for their data, applying edge AI, and seeing what can be gleaned from that. Now, in terms of game theory and staking. So Cardano does offer staking. Jasmy, as of right now, is only doing staking through Binance. And the reason why is because Binance has the infrastructure to support staking. But because Jasmy does not have their own chain out there yet, they really can't do it outside of Binance. So it's specific to Binance. And if you're located here in the US, currently we cannot stake through Binance.us. But I did notice the other day when I was on the Binance US desktop version, there are coins that you can stake on there. So maybe that Jasmy staking might be coming around the corner, to be determined. All right. Now, the current Cardano staking rate, at least the last time I had looked, it was somewhere between 4 and 5%. It was like 4.8, something like that. That may have gone down as time's gone on, but roughly that's where it was. So Jasmy, we still have a bit of a question mark. I'm not sure exactly what the rate is through Binance, but that's not really relevant because, again, it's not being done through the Jasmy blockchain. Now, in terms of government support, so Cardano, and I know they have more than Africa, and there's specific countries in Africa, but sort of in general, I just put Africa. So that's where they were targeting, as I just mentioned, these are sort of these underdeveloped countries where they don't have access to traditional finance. That's kind of what they're going after. In terms of Jasmy government support, yes, we have the government of Japan that has been making a huge push lately into Web 3.0 with the Prime Minister's speech in the UK. We have various consortiums there, which essentially in Japan is very unique. It's basically where companies work together, for a common purpose, a common goal. So that's a really unique thing to Japan, and they do have the government support. And the government recently published some legislation around stablecoins. So we'll talk about that more in Friday's video, but I don't really want to get into that today. Now, celebrity support. So I did a post where I shouted out Gene Simmons recently, a week or two ago. And Gene Simmons reportedly, in the various news articles I saw, bought somewhere around 300,000 worth of Cardano at some point in time. And so you really need celebrity support for something to go viral. You think of like Snoop Dogg, for example, getting into NFTs or XRP. That can really help out a project when you have that celebrity backing, because all of their followers can also then follow that project. Now, for Jasmy, really what we've got right now and I don't even know how influential this person is, this Jasmy influencer. This is the one that Shitcoin Fundamentals, he found in one of his videos that there was a big time influencer in Japan who owns a significant amount of Jasmy. So that's what I meant by Japanese influencer. But I'm not sure if that person publicly talks about Jasmy or not. Now, we do have the sports teams, though, that are marketing Jasmy, the Sagan Tosu and the Nippon Ham Fighter. So we do have that, but we really could use some more celebrity support when it comes to Jasmy. Okay. Now, who is the voice? So the voice of Cardano is obviously Charles Hoskinson. You can find him all over YouTube, all over Twitter. He is active daily. Who's the voice of Jasmy? Well, right now it's pretty much Hara. Hara is the voice. Now, occasionally we'll get an official news article out of the Nikkei Japan website, something like that, that'll cite, Katsumasa Sato. But for the most part, it is Hara is the voice of Jasmy. Now, markets. So Cardano, I didn't comb through all of them, but if you go to CoinMarketCap, they're basically on next to everything. If you look at Jasmy's markets, Dip Metaverse, he did a video just the other day where he said it was somewhere around 65 plus centralized exchanges. So quite a lot. In terms of wallet, so Cardano has their own wallet, the Daedalus wallet, or you can get staking rewards through various platforms. In regards to Jasmy, this is to be determined. So in one of the recent articles, they mentioned that they were working on a wallet, but that is not out yet. So still has to come, all right? For where it's located, Cardano is based out of Hong Kong, even though Charles is based out of Colorado. And Jasmy is based out of, obviously, Tokyo, which has some pretty important implications with that as well. Now, for the consortium multiplier, so this is sort of a unique thing. So let me explain this. So for Cardano, I said no on consortium multiplier. And really what all I'm referring to here is that sort of government-driven, government-incentivized idea out of Japan right now for these consortiums. So the way it works is that all of these corporate executives on these various large companies across Japan, they intermingle on different government boards. And from there, they're further incentivized to work together. So we've seen these consortiums recently. So, Hara had retweeted the consortium with Remix Point and SBI. And I'll be also talking about that in Friday's video because there's some huge implications there that I think we finally figured out. But across the board, there are various consortiums, various partners that Jasmy has worked with, et cetera. And so I think that's extremely important. It's very unique to Japan in particular. Now, the advantage for Cardano is that Charles is one of the co-founders of Ethereum. So that's a no-brainer advantage for Cardano. Now, the advantage for Jasmy is that it is run by former Sony executives. Okay. So if you look at these two categories overall, I think where the most similar is if you really start to look at the tokenomics. So max supply 45 billion versus 50 billion, 75% is out versus 63% or so is out. Where they start to deviate is in the 24-hour volume they deviate, and they also deviate in the hodler wallets. That's where the two deviations occur. So that's where I think there could be some big time opportunities for Jasmy for the future on that. Now, the future will be based upon interoperability, so cross-chain compatible. So this is our first thing, right? So any good project in the future is going to be cross-chain compatible, interoperable. This is one of the big reasons that I'm a big proponent of Polkadot, for example. It's cross-chain compatible, right? Next, we're looking at the scalability, or TPS. This is the transactions per second. So in order for a chain to be valid into the future, it needs to be able to scale up to user demand. And the way we do this is through TPS, transactions per second. Now, we then have, and I'm kind of borrowing this from Gavin Wood because he mentioned this in his latest talk in Davos, Switzerland. Math/tokenomics and game theory are extremely important. So how are we incentivizing users to get into or stay in this project, right? And in Jasmy right now, the main way that they're incentivizing is through airdrops or it's through this staking option on Binance. But if you don't have access to the full Binance, then how are you incentivized? Well, potentially through an airdrop. And I should mention right now that I am running a promotion right now with MEXC. So you can check that out through my website. I've got a link there where you can check it out. And I posted about it in the blog, where you can go into the blog and you can see that um, essentially the different terms of the promotion, how it works and whatnot. But you can basically get about $25 in free Jasmy if you moved $500 over to MEXC. And if we got 500 people that do this, then it also creates a $1,000 worth of Jasmy giveaway to 5 different people. So it's basically $200 a person. But anyways, that is out there right now in terms of some incentivizing. And no, it has nothing to do with Jasmy, the team whatsoever. It's simply me and MEXC partnering together. Okay, but going back to Jasmy, they need to think about how they're going to incentivize um, holders of the token long term, right? How are you going to be incentivized? Are you incentivized through you think it's going to go up in value? Are you incentivized through staking rewards? When a wallet becomes available, then perhaps we could have staking on that wallet, and that sort of changes the game here. And so we really need that game theory to be further developed with Jasmy. And lastly, we've also got utility. So the future will be based on utility. Any good coin in the future is going to have lots of different utility cases. And I think Jasmy absolutely has that across the board. So those are kind of our opportunities here with Jasmy. All right. Now, lastly, and I think this is probably the most important part of this video, is I want to compare the charts. So if I minimize that, let's minimize this. Here are our current charts for Cardano and for Jasmy. So Cardano is sort of this big chart here, and Jasmy is the little chart. Now, the reason I want to point this out is that if you're looking at the two of these, they are almost identical, okay? And what typically happens in crypto is that similar projects, either in a like-minded area or in tokenomics, follow each other in the following cycle. So it just kind of depends on where it comes out in the Bitcoin cycle, that it'll then follow the pattern of its predecessor in the next cycle, right? So when we're looking at this one here, you can see where Jasmy has spiked early on, and then it went down through the dilution, right? Well, Cardano basically did the exact same thing. It spiked early on, it went down through the dilution. Then it had a little bit of a spike back up. Jasmy had the exact same thing right here. We had this spike back up, and then it started to go down. And what I think is really key here is if you're looking at this, you see this blue line here. That's the 200-day moving average shows up. Well, it actually showed up just recently here with Jasmy. And I've been talking about that the way that this eventually swaps and switches over to bull from bear is that 200-day moving average needs to, as time goes on, get closer and closer and closer to the 50-day and the 20-day, and then eventually they will switch over bullish. And here's where the cycles really come together. So if you look at this chart for Cardano, right? Basically where Jasmy is right about now would be where Cardano was, and let's say not even the beginning of 2019, the fall of 2018, okay? So from that point on, it took roughly 2 years for it to then blow up. And if you look at where it kind of moved up and down in between, then it kind of went, up and down, let's say by about 10 cents or so. It went up to maybe about 10 cents over 2019. So Jasmy could still do exactly that. It kind of dipped down again, then it went up and went down. Then it went up to almost about 20 cents around July of 2020. And then at that 2-year window, it absolutely exploded, which corresponded with the big Bitcoin run up after the halving. And so I think that's exactly what is going to happen with Jasmy. And so what I want to do is set realistic expectations in this video. And this is why we talk about this being a long-term hold, because it is following a very similar chart. It has very similar tokenomics to Cardano. So what I think will probably happen here is, from where we're at today, we have roughly about a 2-year window before this thing goes from 20 cents anywhere up to, just like Cardano did, up to and over $3. Okay. So I think that's what it could do in the next Bitcoin cycle, which is roughly, 2025. It could absolutely do that. If it, survives long term and it makes it into the cycle beyond that, then it could go significantly higher than that. So that's why we keep saying, that Jasmy is really a long-term play. It's sort of a 5 to 10 year coin. And even on this run up here, if you're going to sell something, I would only recommend selling what you absolutely need, and then, keep on stacking after that, or however you want to play it. Obviously it's up to you. But I do know people who have had large amounts of Bitcoin in the past. They sold it all. If they would have held it to today, it would have been worth significantly more. So I don't know if you should ever necessarily sell all of your investment. But there's going to be a lot of opportunity. And so anyway, that is sort of the most important thing. And if you look at our volume spikes too, it even kind of corresponds to the volume spikes here around April 2018 with Cardano, where it really spiked on that run up. And that's kind of what we had right here. We had some volume spikes, and then it kind of went down. And so between now and 2 years from now, roughly, you can look at the price kind of floating between where it is now and, let's say, 20 cents. And then roughly 2 years from now, kind of going into 2025, that Bitcoin halving, that's when things are really going to blow up. And I think it could go really big after that. Okay. So I've seen a price of, Dip Metaverse highlighted it. And I also saw the Reddit post prior to his video where they said, 1787 was their number, that they calculated based off all the info in the white paper. Could we hit that number this current cycle? No, I don't think so. Will we hit it next cycle? No, I don't think so. The cycle after that? Yes, I think it is possible. So I think you're looking at a number that is probably 2 cycles out. And we still have quite a ways to go in this cycle. So that's where you're looking at that 10-year number of, could it hit that in 10 years as long as this company is still moving along at the current pace and the current development? Yes, I think it absolutely could. But, the whole point is showing you these charts right here to show you that these patterns absolutely repeat. And they repeat because they have similar tokenomics, and they're at similar places in the Bitcoin cycle. So from here all the way up until the next cycle, like I said, maybe we go up to, like, let's say 10 cents at some point, and we'll go back down a little bit. Really, all of this is DCA territory. Roughly through the next 2 years is probably going to be DCA territory for Jasmy. And then after that, huge run up. And that's where we're all going to make significant life-changing gains. So that's what I wanted to share today. And I'm going to basically sum up this video now with some final thoughts. If you're enjoying today's video and want to learn more, make sure to visit our website at KIRfinance.com, your one-stop resource shop. Once you're at the site, the first thing to do is provide your email in order to be made aware of future announcements, including blog posts, products, and services. Next, check out the About Me section for a little bit about our mission and how we plan to pay it forward. We also have links to our social media, including Twitter and YouTube. Our brand new Patreon page was also just launched with the website, where users are offered various membership tiers for exclusive content and access. We even have a blog now where I plan to post daily financial articles. There's also a link to our merch shop where we've got KIR Finance product options for the whole family. Our affiliate links are posted for endorsed platforms. Just click the picture. NFTs are also available now at OpenSea.io. We have a financial education section, which includes my book on personal finance and soon-to-be course links. And lastly, if you'd simply like to leave a tip, You also have that option, and we'll mention your support in our next video. Thanks for watching, and now let's get back to the video. Alright, so for some final thoughts in today's video comparing and contrasting Jasmy and Cardano. So I think the biggest point that I'd like to get across in this video is to set expectations. So for anybody who thinks this thing is just going to explode overnight, it's not going to do that, okay? What I do think is going to happen is that between now and the next 2 years, it'll probably run up and down between 10 cents, maybe 20 cents as that 2-year window starts to end. When that next Bitcoin halving occurs, that's when all of us could make really big, life-changing money if you're doing a steady DCA over this whole time from basically now until then, okay? So if you look at the scope of your life and how long you may be investing in something, 2 years goes by actually really quick. 3 years goes by really quick. Once you start to become an older guy like me, like 5 and 10-year windows go by really quick. Sometimes I look back, like I graduated from college in 2004. So I've been out of college for 18 years, right? So time really starts to fly, I think, the older you get. And when you're doing an investment, you do a DCA, it's a good idea to have, some sort of idea of where this is all heading to down the road, okay? Now, part of what's weighed on this cycle, is the geopolitical, the macroeconomic factors, etc. Hopefully some of that stuff clears out between now and the next 2 years, all the way through that Bitcoin halving. But historically, when that occurs, that's when Bitcoin really pumps and the rest of the market really pumps with it, okay? So that's where I think that Jasmy in particular could go from where it's at today, roughly floating around a penny, give or take, all the way up to and above $3 on that, okay? Now, in terms of that 1787 price target, that's probably 2 cycles out, okay? So if you think about it, every cycle is 4 years, well, then 2 cycles is basically an 8-year window. How much time do we have left in this cycle? Well, we still have quite a while. We got about 1.5 years left of this cycle. So if you're looking at it like that, this could be roughly a 7 to 10 year time frame, give or take, between now and when this thing should spike 2 cycles from now. So could it ultimately meet or surpass that number? Sure. But that's a really, really tall order, and it would also mean that the market cap would have to go up significantly from where it is today. And so a lot of things kind of need to come together for that to happen. But it is possible, right? And so what I think, for Jasmy, what they really need to focus on right now is they need to focus on getting their blockchain out there. They need to focus on the game theory, so incentivizing this to get more users into the platform, just like Cardano has with their staking, right? That's important. We need to focus on some celebrity support. So I think that would go a long way with Jasmy in particular, as if we started to get some big-time celebrities behind this. So I think there's some inroads to be made there, right? And, as just time goes on, we get listed on more exchanges, we have more of the coin out there, the ecosystem gets further developed, more partnerships come to light through these various consortiums / karetsus. There's so much going on under the surface here, especially in the country of Japan, with all of these companies that work together for like-minded goals now, where they're incentivized to do so as Japan moves towards Society 5.0. So I think as all of this stuff kind of comes to fruition, all I'm seeing, all these signs are pointing to this being a very, very good project as time goes on. Now, obviously, the team needs to stay intact. We need to have goals met, roadmap goals. We need expansion, all these things to occur, etc. So still keep an eye on all of that. But going back to just straight tokenomics, straight chart, and this is something that I think you learn also the longer you're in cryptocurrency, is that a cryptocurrency one cycle typically will follow the chart of its predecessor into the next cycle. And you see this often with, something like Telcoin and XRP, very similar charts. And I think we're seeing that same kind of thing here with Jasmy and Cardano. So I see no reason why this wouldn't repeat, because we have almost identical market factors. You know, really we just need to increase those hodler wallets. We really got to build that up. We got to build up the daily trading volume, and then we just need to incentivize the holders with some more game theory. Okay, so that being said, that's kind of everything. As I mentioned, don't forget to check out my MEXC promotion. You can find that through my website at KIRfinance.com. Just go to the blog, it's in there. All the info on the promotion's there. If you want to do it, great. If not, great. But either way, there's some free money there for Jasmy if you want to try that promotion out. So give that a look. Greatly appreciate it if you do. And outside of that, that's pretty much it in today's video. So for my weekly recap and my more holistic video, that'll be coming towards the end of this week, where I'll get into some even more details on Jasmy and why I am more bullish than ever after a few new things that we discovered earlier this week. Okay? So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget that I am also on Twitter at KIR Finance, where you can find me tweeting, retweeting. So check me out there, send me a DM, whatever you want to do. And then lastly, for a friendly reminder, this is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, channel that always has your back, tells it like it is, and I will see you on the next one. Later.